Hello, everyone. Welcome to Under the Wing. I am your host, Andrew Wingard, and I am extremely grateful that you're sharing your time with us today. I am excited that I get the opportunity to share with you the experiences and stories from all walks of life. Gather round and let's begin. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me again on another episode of Under the Wing. I'm your host, Andrew Wingard, and I'm pretty excited for today. I have a very special guest and a very dear friend of mine here in Youngstown, Ohio. I've been preparing for this session for a little bit of time now, and so I'm pretty excited to dive in. John Ruble of Achieve Your Dreams is here with me today. We thank you so much, John, for joining me.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm grateful for this opportunity.
You know, as I was preparing, John, I'm pretty well known for giving out my nicknames. And so, over the past 4 or 5 years that I've known you, it's been, first off, a pleasure working with you with the chamber, but also just watching you from afar, grow, achieve your dreams, and watching you help the community, help them achieve their dreams. And so, as I was preparing today, I said, you know what? I've been calling John for the past 4 or 5 years when I probably should have been calling you Coach.
I like it. That's okay. I go by John. That's good. I like that.
So if going forward in our friendship, if you hear me call you Coach, man, just know I'm talking to you. So that we're gonna dive right into that because achieve your dreams and helping others is a form of coaching. And me being a former student athlete, I thought about it and realized that coaching happened way beyond my time as an athlete. And I have coaches to this day, and you're absolutely one of them. And so, let's jump off this conversation. And, why does having a coach as a professional matter?
Well, let's say this, no matter what it is, I could coach in sports. I could coach somebody that's running for elected official. It could be somebody that wants to earn more money, somebody that wants to write a book. You need somebody to guide you and keep your mind on track to go after what you really want, because it's so easy to get distracted. And I teach people how to take that action one step at a time. And there's one thing that I always tell everybody: we cannot connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect the dots looking backwards. Yeah. So we don't know how we're going to get from here to here, but we can always look back and see how we got from here to here. So you have to have that faith and believe and take that action and start moving towards that goal you want. So some of the things that people need in sports is they get distracted and they start what I call NPAs, non-productive actions. So we want to handle those non-productive actions 1 or 2 at a time. Are they staying focused? Are they doing the layups? Are they passing the ball? Are they throwing the ball? Are they doing those little sprints they're supposed to do? Those are all things that make great athletes. And if you ever hear some of the greatest athletes that win championships, the next day they're back at it. They don't celebrate, very little. So you look at a Michael Jordan, LeBron James, any of those guys, they're right back at it.
Yeah.
They're right back at it, and they're looking at the next championship.
Yeah. So you brought up something. I wasn't going to ask this one right away, but since you brought up focus and I want to make sure that we touch on this. There's a quote that you have, I believe it might have been on your website. You cannot depend on your own eyes when your imagination is out of focus. Can you break that down and what your personal meaning is of that?
So quote? I wrote down a couple things here. So our eyes is our outside world. And we're different from animals, okay? Our outside world is those antennas that are connected to our head to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. We don't want to live from that. We don't want to let our eyes control us, what we're seeing. We want to use that imagination and stay focused. So imagination is one of the 6 faculties in a conscious mind. Mm-hmm. And so is focus. Focus would be the will. So there's ways to stay focused. You want to stay focused after you want. We want to use that imagination because that imagination is inside of us. We want to learn to grow from the inside out, not from the outside in. Now, animals run on instinct.
Right.
And that's their world. We don't have to live by that.
Yeah. So
So
connecting those two, right? So we just talked about how much coaching means, and then you tied in the focus of that aspect of helping someone stay focused. How do you help an individual or even yourself, someone's that's having that or dealing with the loss of focus, or they can't, stay here or there, and you're trying to help them kind of get prepared for whatever they're preparing for, whether it was, like you said, trying to get a better job or trying to write a book. How do you help someone fix their focus?
so there's two ways you could fix focus. You could light a candle, put it on the table when it's calm and quiet in your house, stare at the flame.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyes are going to wander off in a couple split seconds. Bring it back in. Bring it back in. Keep focusing on that. Or put a dot on the wall with a pencil and stare at that dot and start building your focus up. Start building your focus up. Those are
Okay.
two ways to build your focus up, to help create that. And another thing that I like to do, meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation helps you relax because we want to be calm and confident. I wasn't like this my whole life. Okay. I've changed. And each day, as you train yourself, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is that we change a little bit, but we don't see it. But if
Right.
I look back from when I first met you, I'm not the same person. And I
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I actually, I did all that meditation. That was something that I started maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it helped me tremendously. And I wish I would have known about meditation, way back when, and just take time and think about what's going on.
There's
And
one more thing that just came to my mind, which is a great thing to write. Write gratitude out
yeah,
each morning. It shifts your energy. And we can be grateful for things that we don't have.
right.
Or we can be grateful. I always like saying, I'm grateful for today. I
Yeah,
woke up, I have another day. But you
for
don't know when
sure.
your last day is. So it's great. And I have write my gratitude out of things I don't have, and those things are coming to me now.
Yeah,
It's amazing how the shift in energy in that subconscious mind, and you start to draw to you what you want.
yeah.
And it's just amazing writing the gratitude out.
So I was talking to a dear friend, and Mandy, who you know very well, and so
Yes,
we were chatting on the phone the other day, and she said, "Hey, do you write out affirmations and different things?" I said, "I don't do that as much as I probably should." And she was talking with someone as she's trying to grow her business as well, and she mentioned someone showed her their journal and showed her what she wrote inside the journal. And so, I said, I don't do as much as that. I've heard individuals say to write those things down. Why is it important to take time to write
so
those thoughts out?
when we write, it could be your goal you're writing, it could be an affirmation you're writing. Writing creates thinking. Thinking creates an image. We think in images.
Yeah.
An image creates um, an emotion, and we work on emotions, whether positive or negative. Everything's coming from that. Almost 98% of our results come from the subconscious mind. What's driving us, positive or negative?
Yeah.
So when you write things out, you're starting to get that picture, then you're starting to get that emotion, and things start to happen
Right.
because you're pushing it to the subconscious mind.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. And so what I want to do is jump back to that coaching. I knew this conversation would get way out of hand once we started chatting. There are a few people that I love chatting with, and John, you happen to be one of them. As
I love talking to you too, Andrew.
So going back to talking about coaching, you look at your top 2 or 3 qualities of what you would consider a good coach to have. What are those top 2 to 3 qualities that you think a good coach should have?
Well, the first thing we call it when I train people, we call it the magic word. That's from Earl Nightingale. And the
Mm,
magic word is attitude.
okay.
So we got to have attitude. And
Yeah.
our attitude is like making a cake. Okay. It's in our conscious, our subconscious, and our body. Our body's just going to take the actions of what we're thinking. So we want to have a good thought because we have energy flowing in us. Energy's flowing in us. We call it spirit, we call it energy, whatever we want to call it. Everything's energy.
Yeah.
Where are we putting those thoughts? We putting a positive, we putting a negative. And then we're pushing it down to the subconscious. And then the subconscious is going to tell that body what to do. So it's that we want to have that. A good attitude would be the first thing that you're going to look for, because attitude's everything.
Yep, I agree.
Then a good coach, to me, is going to set goals. He's going to set a team goal, and he's going to have his players set individual goals.
Yeah.
And then help them go after by taking daily actions to get to that goal. And the biggest thing a coach has to do is have his players work in harmony.
Yeah.
Because when you work in harmony, whether you're in a factory, whether you're at YSU, no matter where you are, you want to work in harmony. That brings the energy level up. There can be teams that don't have the talent, but they win because they play in harmony. They stay confident and calm. Those are two major things. As a Man Thinketh, that book, we've talked about that before. That's a great book for calming down. That last chapter on serenity. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, when I say that, you're one of my coaches, I'm not making that up. And so, we've chatted about books and, both of us being avid readers and avid learners, and As a Man Thinketh happened to be one of those books, one of the first books I think you might have suggested to me when I moved here. And it was an awesome read, man. And just like you said, some of the thoughts inside of that book were life-changing.
So there's one thing I teach. So how many times have you read that book?
Read it once, times that I've been through it, and looked back at my highlights in writing multiple times.
Oh, good. That's a great thing. Because as we change as a person, and sometimes we read that again, we get a different meaning out of it.
For sure.
So I read a book the first time through. I carry a highlighter in my pocket almost all the time when I'm reading, and I will highlight stuff. People go, "Why are you highlighting?" I'm always highlighting stuff, certain sections. I'll even write notes sometimes in the books. Not so much as highlighting.
Right.
But a lot of times I have clients that will have gone through programs with me. They'll call me back, and we'll go through chapter after chapter through a book. Yeah. And it's great because we get that conversation, and I'm learning while they're learning. It's just great.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. And I was very, very big on highlighting for a while. And then I just said, you know what, I'm going to start jotting what my thoughts are from that I would normally highlight something. What am I thinking from that thought? And so that's something that I've started doing as well, and just kind of writing those things out in that book. So I definitely agree with that. That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. So, wrapping up the coaching segment, let's kind of bring it full circle, man, as you as you help others in your role now with Achieve Your Dreams. Tell me about one of your proudest moments as a coach.
Oh, it's listening to people come back to me, change their thoughts, and they start to change those results. That makes me happy. I've worked with people that have lived on the streets, and to see them go back into a factory or go to a job is a great accomplishment. It makes you feel good. And I do some things for free even. I love giving. I love teaching. And that's what my life's all about. I'm always teaching. I'm always teaching no matter what I'm doing. I don't know. Sometimes I probably get on people's nerves, but I'm always teaching. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so the greatest moment is watching clients get the results that they get.
Yeah.
That makes me very, very happy. A lot of my clients don't like to say much because they want to be kept quiet of who they're working with, because maybe they don't want to brag, and that's okay.
Right.
I told you I just bought a house, so I stepped out and I made the commitment probably about 6 months ago that I was going to move into a bigger house and live in something that I want, because I teach that. So I said, I've got to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we get sidetracked sometimes and we forget what we're teaching. I've done it myself. And I'm like, man, I'm sharing with someone what I've done maybe in the past, but maybe I forgot. I'm thinking what to do next. Well, I know what to do because I told somebody else what to do.
But sometimes I had a situation, I'm not going to go into that right now, but I had a situation happen a year and a half ago, whatever. And I remember running into somebody, and I had spoke with them at Cheney High School in a room with them. And we had a great conversation with the kids. And I told him what happened. He looked at me, he says, John, he says, sometimes a coach needs a coach.
Yeah.
And I thought, yes, they do. Sometimes you need somebody to bounce things off of. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with that statement anymore, as we all do. And so, we've talked a lot, John, and I've enjoyed kind of hearing your story, and we've shared quite a bit with one another. And so, prior to your time with Achieve Your Dreams and running your own business, you were with the manufacturing world and supervising. And so, I wanted to touch on the aspect of transition. As my book After the Buzzer, it started with that idea of transitioning. I feel that we're all transitioning, whether professionally, personally, whatever it may be. And the reason for this podcast is I wanted to share the stories of the people that I've met during this journey, because I know that we can all connect in one way, shape, or form. And so, I want to talk about that transition. And so, could you tell me about a challenge that you faced early on when you were transitioning from?
So I'm going to go back a little bit farther.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the beginning of 2016. I was working in a factory, running a couple departments. At that point, I got threatened to be taken out of my position. Well, I didn't stay still. I thought to myself, I got to go back to studying books again. I walked into Barnes and Noble, went up to the shelf, picked a book off the shelf called The Art of Living by Bob Proctor. Never heard of the man. Found out later he was in the movie The Secret. Didn't know what The Secret was. I started reading that book, and as soon as I read that book, I said, I'm going to meet this guy one day. And every time he mentioned a book in there, I would order it.
Yeah.
I started studying those. So what happened was, then I went to the point where I was taken out of my position. I signed up for an event called The Matrix. I went up and saw Bob Proctor. And as soon as he walked on stage, I was just in awe. I couldn't believe the energy in the room, and you could just feel the vibration level. And they talked about being a consultant. And before that, I had worked with one of his coaches, and I told him I want to become a consultant. He goes, you sure that's what you want? I go, yeah, that's what I want. Well, he was trying to keep me open-minded, and I did stay open-minded, but I knew what I wanted.
Right.
So in December of 2016, I went to that event up in Canada. I signed up for being a consultant. I had put a down payment down. I got up to my room, and I hit what they call the terror barrier. Worry, fear, and doubt set in. I was scared. I thought, you know what? I could just eat that money, go back to the factory, work. But something told me, John, don't do that. So when I got back in 2017, I started to Achieve Your Dreams. I was still working full-time until September 8th of 2017. That's the last day that I worked. And I quit my job, and I went on my own. But some things I did was the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read the chapter on persistence because I didn't want to go backwards 400 times straight, 400 days straight.
Yeah. So
that was something that I did to keep my focus so that I didn't go back into the workforce. And I have had job offers lately too, but I don't want to go back into work. I love what I do. I can make my schedule. I schedule my whole day, and it's nice. I love it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And so, Michael Watkins said in one of his books, it's a mistake to believe that you will be successful in your new job by continuing to do what you did in your previous job. And so when you started Achieve Your Dreams and started being a consultant, what were a couple things that you did differently as a consultant and being an entrepreneur than what you were doing as a supervisor or, corporate America? What are a couple of things that you did differently?
So one of the things we talked about was writing gratitude out. And I did something out with about 25 consultants around the world that are Bob Proctor consultants. We wrote out serenity. It takes about a half hour, 25 minutes to 30 minutes to write it out. I wrote it out 90 days with these guys. Then I continued another 90 days. This is early in the morning, 6 a.m. Another 90 days on my own. So I did it for a total of 180 days. Wow. But that just made me calm. That made me relaxed. Very seldom do I get excited. I get excited when I see stuff happening, but I don't have the worry, doubt, and fear. I always have the confidence and the calmness. So that was one thing that I did. And writing my goals out, reading my goals, reading in the mirror. I had a lot of affirmations at that point. And I'm in transition right now, moving to a new house. So I don't have all that stuff on the walls. My office is kind of all over the house. And when I get back together, I'm going to be able to put all my plaques, everything up on the walls. It's going to be great. Nice. I have a dream board. I use my dream board. I have a dream house on there. It might not exactly be the one I had on there, but it's similar. It's nice, beautiful, nice house. So those are things that I do because I know you want to visualize. You want to visualize, what do you want in life? What are you going after? As Henry Ford said, if you think you're right, you're right. If you think you're wrong, right? So whatever you think, you're right. Yeah. Positive or negative. If you think, well, here's how I said it. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't.
Right.
So how many people talk themselves out of doing something?
Yeah.
They get an idea in a conscious mind. They push it to their subconscious mind, and they start getting fear. We don't want fear. I don't know if you remember Zig Ziglar saying what fear was: false evidence appearing real.
Right.
We want to let that fear go. We want to have the confidence that everything we want will come to us as we need it. And that's what happens in life. As you get to a certain point, then you look out a little farther. Get to a certain point, look a little farther. So each time something happens, you're looking for the next step. What am I going to do? And you've got to take action, because it's that action reaction that the law of attraction is.
Right. Yeah. No, that's big. That is big. And so one of the things that, I was going through a really tough time, some years back, and my brother said, whatever you think, you're never alone. And so that statement was the big purpose of me creating this podcast. And so my next question is, I'm big on action items. So what can I take from this conversation, or what can I take from this person, 5-minute coffee or 10-minute coffee, and use today? And so, one of the things that struck me is, you talked about when you were leaving corporate America and being a consultant, and they were scared,
Yeah.
There was fear there. And I think sometimes we just assume that I'm the only one going through this. No one else has ever been scared. No one else has ever jumped off the deep end. But that's false, And so,
Yes.
What are a couple, 2 or 3 action items that someone who's in this transition phase, what are a couple things that you would suggest that they do?
So one thing I work with, everybody that works with me knows one thing. One of the first things I come in and I ask them, what's your wins? What's your wins for the week or your wins for today? You want to build on the positive things, and let the negative things go. So as you're building for the positive things, you're creating that energy that's getting you to go farther and farther. So that's one of the first things I do. Mm-hmm. Then I'll ask them, are you writing your goals out? Are you reading your goals? Are you taking daily action? So I suggest the person writes down, it could be 2 things, maybe up to 6 different action items that they can do each day to get them towards their goal. Mm-hmm. So the next day, they check them off, the most important ones. If they don't get them all done, don't create a laundry list. Create that 2 to 6 things that you can do, and just the ones you don't get done, roll them over to the next day. We don't want to be hard on ourselves. We want to build on that positive energy and move towards what we want.
Yeah. No, that's good. That is good. And so I'm going to circle back around, as we talked about James Allen and As a Man Thinketh. And so, one of my favorite quotes, I'll read it. And what I want you to do is give your spin and your take on it and your thoughts. Because again, I know we've talked about this numerous times. All right. So a man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth, if no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. I thought that was powerful.
It's very powerful. It's like you don't weed that garden, what's going to happen?
Right.
So you want to control that. You want to control those thoughts. And he's a great writer. And he knew exactly we become what we think about.
Yeah.
And so we want to get rid of those cobwebs. And some of the ways to get rid of those cobwebs: meditation.
Yep.
Exercising, maybe watching a good movie. Those are things you want to do. And I remember Bob Proctor always said, what'd you do today that you never did in your life before? He's always trying to get you to step out.
Yeah.
Step out. Do something you've never done before. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So we want to keep that garden weeded, that mind weeded.
For sure. And I mean, it's just thinking about, if you don't tend to your garden or you don't tend to your grass, what comes up? And I was just down with my brothers in Charlotte, and he was talking about the weeds in his grass. I thought about that as I was reading that again, as I look back at some of those notes. I'm like, man, if you leave that untreated, what's going to come up? If you watch it, like you mentioned, if you watch the things that you watch, what do you expect to, what do you expect your motives are going to change to do, or your thoughts, how are you going to think?
During the epidemic, people watched too much TV and it made themselves so nervous.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the worst things that's happened. Is I don't watch the TV hardly at all. I watch a movie or something, but I don't watch TV, so I don't let that influence me. I do look on some of the apps sometimes and catch some of the news.
Yeah.
But I don't dwell on it.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up this conversation, John, and we'll definitely have to do a part 2 to this because we didn't even get through most of the questions that I had here. And so as I wrap up, as I do most of all the shows, is one of the things that I would like to do is give out their roses. And what I mean by that is there someone living today that has been influential in your life, a mentor, a coach, a friend, someone that's meant a lot to you? And so what I would like you to do is give them their roses today. And, and explain a little bit why you're giving them their roses.
Well, I got to, this person just died in February, but I got to give the roses back to Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
He totally changed my life. If it wasn't for that material, I had read the book Think and Grow Rich many, many years ago. I didn't understand it. But when I started studying with Bob, I was a different person. I was a lot older. Bob broke everything down, the small itty bitty things, and made things very simple. He never makes learning hard. He makes it simple. So he totally changed my world. And then there's another great book by a man by the name of Price Pritchett. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you. Mm-mm. It's called U, and a 2 above the U squared. It is a great book. Each chapter is only 2 pages long. You might have to order it from his website. I don't know if he has it out there. But that's another great book. He talks about a quantum leap. We must have belief. We must have faith. We must take action. And sometimes they say massive action.
Yeah.
Just do it. And so that has always been an influence. I make decisions very quickly. I don't hesitate. Once in a while, I'll sleep on something, but I can make decisions very, very quickly.
And could you, why quickly versus taking time to simmer on it?
Because I believe you have that intuition inside of you. You know what you want.
Yeah.
Why do you have to keep thinking about it? Yeah. So you know what you want. Sometimes you're just letting things get in the way, or you're putting things in the way. So I'll make a decision pretty quickly. I'm not going to say I don't sleep overnight sometimes on making a decision, but I make decisions pretty quickly, very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That is good.
And one of the chapters in Think and Grow Rich is decision making. Okay. And that is the longest chapter in the book. Yeah.
All right, good, man. So, again, as we wrap up, John, it's been a pleasure, brother. And, I appreciate your friendship and all of the past few years and the wisdom that you've showed me and the hospitality here in Ohio. And so what I want to do is share with the people, man, where can people learn more about John Ruble and achieve your dreams?
So they could go to my website. It's achieveyourfuture.com. When you go to the website, you could email me through there, but I will give you my email address too.
Okay.
achieveyourdreams2017@gmail.com. Or you can reach me at 330-402-2716. That's my cell number. And I normally get back to everybody within a couple hours. If I'm busy with a client, I'll call back on my travels or whatever I'm doing. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I enjoy talking. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy speaking engagements, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome, John. Well, again, thank you so much for taking time. I know you're a busy man. And again, congratulations on the house and the other things that are coming forth here over time with Achieve Your Dreams. And, I look forward to staying connected with you and catching up maybe in a year or two.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much for listening to Under the Wing. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you enjoyed today's show and you would like to support the podcast, tell a friend or two, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Facebook at Under the Wing with Andrew. Again, thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.